Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm excited to share with you guys that after all these years, the 240SX RESTOMOD build is finally complete. And when I say complete, I mean legit done. Like done. There's only one other thing that I need to do, and that's to figure out some kind of paint protection film, ceramic coating, maybe both, I don't know, but something to keep this paint protected and looking as nice as it can for years to come. So I've got this video, the paint protection video, and then after that, possibly just the final review. That's not to say that I won't ever make content on this car ever again, but I can finally put this series to rest, and that's a really good feeling. So obviously the last video was wrapping up the paint. I chose not to film much of the reassembly of this car just because I just wanted to crank on some jams in the shop and start putting it back together. So that's what I did. Really took my time with it, make sure, you know, everything went back together like it should in the highest degree of quality that I could. Obviously, it was a bit of a learning curve because I forgot how to put a lot of it back together, so that took some time. And of course, tracking down missing parts and this and that, stuff that I had never gotten, you know, that I needed to source. And anyway, it was a process, but it turned out really, really good, and I'm excited to share with you guys how it turned out towards the end of the video. Of course, I'll go super in-depth with the final in-depth review. This video is going to be kind of a summary of some of the, let's say, standout things that have happened over the last several months of putting this car back together, spearheaded by the custom air conditioning system that I put together for this car. Yes, I have fully functioning factory-ish AC in this car, and it is phenomenal. So I used a combination of original 240 bits, Skyline bits, and a lot of universal bits, and it's all controlled by my Haltech ECM. So I'll explain all of that and what I did to build this car. So hopefully any of you guys watching this video looking to do something similar, maybe I can help you guys out, give you some insight, because it can be, it's very tricky. It took me forever to figure out this AC stuff. But anyway, there's some other things that I'll be highlighting in this video as well. I ended up having JetHot redo all of the hot side of the exhaust and the turbo with a higher temperature, higher quality coating. I did a complete underglow and interior lighting kit from Oracle Lighting. It turned out phenomenal. I had a local glass company, Puffs Autoglass. I've worked with them several times in the past. They put in my 180SX quarter glass, did all new seals and trim and everything, new windshield, turned out really good. And there's one other thing, JetHot, Oracle, glass, air conditioning. No, that's it. And giving you guys just a quick walk around of this car at the end of the video. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. One thing that's always irritated me was the hot side of the exhaust system, which I had done in Cerakote years ago, but unfortunately, even though Cerakote is a good product and widely used, it did not withstand the heat that my system generates. So having later gotten linked up with JetHot on several other projects, I was excited to try something different for the 240. In comes their 2K series coating. JetHot coatings are high-performance ceramic coatings for exhaust headers, side pipes, manifolds, intakes, mufflers, turbo housings, and other parts you can think of. I've used JetHot on several builds now and have always been impressed by the quality of their work and the benefits that their coatings provide. Plus, they're a local company to me, now in Greensboro, North Carolina. The 240 is the first car that I've been able to utilize their 2K series. As an FYI, when you coat the external and internal surfaces of your exhaust system, you'll improve performance and longevity and possibly avoid costly repairs later. These coatings improve horsepower output and protect other components in and around the engine from the heat that emits from the exhaust components. JetHot coatings can make your parts look amazing and perform better whether they be new or old, and they always come with a lifetime guarantee. If you all didn't already know, JetHot pioneered the industry's classic polish coating back in 1982. Today, it's still considered to be the best that the industry has to offer. Classic polish, which I've used on builds before, like my S10 RESTOMOD build and my Monte Carlo SS build, lowers a part's surrounding temperatures by as much as 65% and withstands temperatures up to 1,250 degrees Fahrenheit. It also has that traditional chrome look to it. For turbocharged or supercharged engines, or if you're running nitrous, I highly recommend checking out JetHot's 2K series that I have here. It's a flame-applied coating that not only withstands exhaust gas temperatures, but it'll also act as a thermal barrier, helping to keep heat in your exhaust and guard against thermal cycling. The 2K series is the most durable coating JetHot offers and is rated for severe conditions up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The surface appearance is rough textured, which is typical of a flame-sprayed product. Like the standard coating though, the 2K coating can be top coated with any of JetHot's available ceramic top coats for different appearances, or to just complement the color of your build. They offer the largest selection of colors in the industry with more than 40 color options to choose from. Color top coats are applied over a ceramic metallic base coat to protect against corrosion. For the 240's 2K coating, I chose the 2057 Titanium. For more information on JetHot's services, I've got their website down in the description box below. While I was putting all of this stuff back together, I took the opportunity to redo a whole bunch of lines. I didn't want rubber lines, especially around these high heat areas, so anything dealing with oil or coolant got these nice stainless braided AN lines and all of the appropriate fittings. Plus, my tile wastegate, which is able to be plumbed into the cooling system, was not done before, so I went ahead and did that so everything can be stayed properly cool. And there's me making the new turbo oil drain line, which goes down to the block. So again, everything on this side of the engine is all super fresh and should last a very, very long time. So now that all of this stuff is done, I can transition you guys into talking about the AC stuff. To be honest, I never planned on putting AC back into this car. I figured it would be a pointless pursuit, but I've learned a lot about AC systems over the years, and I figured nothing ventured, nothing gained, might as well give it a try. And years ago, I got really lucky and scored a new old stock Nissan RB25 AC compressor, which are rare as hen's teeth and unfortunately very expensive. So anyway, in doing this, I ordered a compressor relocation bracket from Platinum Racing Products, which I've used several other of their parts on the build, but what this does is that it eliminates the need for a third compressor belt. It moves it in line with the power steering pulley, so you just get a longer belt and basically tie in the crank pulley, power steering pulley, and AC pulley together, and then that gives you an extra tensioner as well, so everything can stay nice and secure and, in my opinion, a whole lot more simpler. Apparently in high horsepower, high RPM RB builds, the power steering belt can fly off or something. So anyway, it was a avoidance of a potential problem in the future, and it also gave me more space between the compressor and the dump tube coming off of my wastegate. So even though it's coated with the JetHot, I wanted to avoid as much heat as possible. So now I'm wrapping up the cooling system plumbing, connecting the turbo. That line routes around the back of the engine and underneath the intake manifold, so that was that. Now I'm just installing the down tube, which was a very interesting process of installation at least. So as you can see it, all that stuff is done and looking good. Apologies for the horridness of everything else. I fixed all of that, as you can see. I redid a lot of stuff, which has been covered in previous videos. So Anyway, along with my AC components, in the description box, I've listed everything that I ordered from a company called Cold Hose. They didn't sponsor the video or anything like that, but they were very helpful in helping me measure certain things and recommending certain parts, so I definitely wanted to make sure to give them a shout out. Very, very good customer service. So this is a universal AC condenser, which I ended up strapping to the back of the intercooler. Now, RBs can be hard to keep cool, especially under demanding scenarios. I've never really run into that with this car, but since I was adding a big point of possible restriction behind the intercooler, I wanted to give it extra cooling ability. So I put in two 8-inch universal Mishimoto electric fans, which are then tied into another relay, and a Setrab 190-degree thermo switch in the radiator to where the fans will kick on with the AC relay as they should, but if the AC is off and the car gets a little warmer, the fans will also kick on to assist my 12-inch fans on the chase bay's tucked radiator. So at full tilt, if need be, I'll have 4 electric fans running. This thing will have no problem staying cool. So as you've seen with these past few clips of just installing belts, tightening things down, installing some of my fittings, these are original Skyline compressor fittings that I had modified with new beadlock crimps so I can make my new lines and attach them appropriately, but I also got new high and low side fittings to mount them down below instead of having them in different parts of the engine like what would have been on the 240 originally. It just seemed like a more convenient situation for me. So I picked up this beadlock crimping tool on Amazon a long time ago, and it's been really, really good. I've never had a leak yet, and it's very easy to use. So in making these AC lines, being that this system is still going to generate heat, I wanted to make sure the AC could perform at its best. So I ordered this thermal insulation, like fiberglass silicone wrapped like tube type stuff, which I basically fit the AC lines through them, and at least the one across the firewall I then wrapped in gaffer tape. I was really trying to insulate that line. So it made the lines a little bit more difficult to bend and move, but every single thing has that thermal protection wrapping. So again, anything that I can do to reduce heat, to block heat, and make this AC system sweet. There I go right there, just sliding that insulator tube on there. Again, not too hard, doing a little bit of crimping action, and yeah, turning out pretty good so far. Of course, when I was putting all this stuff back together, I realized that there was some stuff deleted that shouldn't have been deleted, like the plug for the factory binary switch. So I used my universal dryer, and I'm actually screwing in a trinary switch, which I ended up not using. I put a binary switch in so I could find the binary switch wiring from the 240 and connect it so everything would be connected like factory. So anyway, let's take a break on all the front stuff for a minute so I can explain everything that I did inside the car, which is a lot more important than you might think. This is the evaporator core. It just attaches with some bolts and stuff underneath the dash. You got to take the glove box out and pull it out. This is such a vital part of the AC system. As you can see, mine was nasty from leaves and rat poo and unknown objects. It doesn't matter. This thing needs to be able to pass air through it to cool the system, and if it's occluded, it's not going to work too well. There's also a very important portion of the system attached to this, and that's the expansion valve. The system doesn't use an orifice tube, it has an expansion valve, and I can't fully explain to you what it does. It's just vitally important. So I was actually able to get a brand new one of these at O'Reilly Auto Parts in stock, surprisingly. So anyway, I bought some extra AC like cork tape, got this thing reattached, new O-rings, lubricated with mineral oil, and of course be sure don't over crimp the O-rings. Let the O-rings do their job and seal. If you over crimp it, you could rip an O-ring and cause a leak, which is no fun. So in putting all this stuff back together, sealed with the new cork tape around all the joints, I resealed the entire evaporator box. This thing was clean as a whistle. I was very proud of it. So getting it put back in was just the reverse process. I could have shown you where the bolts and stuff are, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and the internet is a very vast place with excellent pictures on how to do it. So in turning on the AC or the blower motor, I noticed there was some crunchy sound, so I pulled that out as well, and of course it was full of leaves. So if you're gonna do this kind of stuff, just pull everything out and do it right the first time. So gave the blower motor thorough clean, resealed that, flows nice and quiet, just like brand new. So for all intents and purposes, everything underneath the dash behind the glove box has been thoroughly freshened up. So now time to turn the attention back to the front. I've got my line run from the dryer over to the condenser, and basically just getting all of that stuff tightened up, fitted, making sure nothing's rubbing, if there's any sharp edges, that they're protected. It's just, piddly stuff. Again, when you're tightening all these fittings and O-rings, just get it nice and snug. Don't over tighten them. You'll make a mess. Now let's switch gears for a moment and talk about glass. At this point, the AC is not done. I just needed to take a break for a moment, so we'll get back to that in just a moment. Poff's Autoglass is up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, right in my neck of the woods, and they have a lot of good guys working there. I've been working with them on various projects for several years now, and they have mobile services, which is wonderful. Big shout out to my buddy Chris Tolley, who used to work with me a whole lot on the channel back in the day and now works with Poff's, and he got all this stuff set up for me, so I really appreciate it. They've got guys working there that specialize on the removal and reinstallation of glass, so if you have rare discontinued glass and you don't want to break it, they do a really good job at saving it. So especially with this quarter glass, they were able to remove the original quarter glass so I can put it in safekeeping, hopefully never need it, but I at least have a spare set. What I really wanted to do is to get a set of original 180SX glass. For those of you who don't know, I've been doing a cosmetic kind of emulation, I guess, of a Nissan 180SX Type X. So all of the body kit stuff is original Nissan, even the front lip, the spoiler, the taillights, everything. So obviously had to get the glass to complete the look. Along with that, before reinstalling the brand new windshield and my original hatch glass, we were able to get all new correct seals from Nissan, new old stock parts. The only thing that I did not get through Nissan, but actually found in Japan, is a set of new old stock rear hatch window molding trim. Now this stuff is like black painted metal trim with specific metal corners, and I have never seen another set, and let me tell you, when that thing was expensive, my goodness. So having professionals who knew what they were doing to reattach all of this original molding was a big plus. These guys really took their time and care and got this thing looking like it rolled right off the assembly line. And just a little side note, that Milwaukee glue squirter that he was using was really cool and definitely beats any kind of hand pump. So with these bigger pieces of glass, Larry, the guy on the right, was able to get somebody out there to help him get all this stuff settled in and lined up appropriately. Again, these guys have been doing this for years and was really fun to watch, so I appreciate them letting me be involved with the camera all up in their faces. So right now, Larry is attaching one of my new old stock molding retainer strips. So this goes up the A-pillars, around the roof and back down, and serves as like an anchor point for my new old stock windshield trim. So here's a fun fact for you guys. They do offer a one-piece rubber windshield molding for these cars, but since I was able to find a new old stock set of window trim, I elected to use that just because I wanted everything to look as factory as possible. Another fun fact is how they set these windows. So obviously they've put their primer down and they've got the urethane down, but they don't have to use any spacers or alignment dowels and stuff like that like they would have used from the factory, because the urethane that they apply is so far advanced from what they used back in the day, it doesn't squish out or settle, which is the reason they use the spacers, to keep the glass kind of set up while the urethane cured. So all they had to do was apply the stuff, stick it down, make sure it was all aligned, and it fit just like original. It's amazing. This was something that I probably could have done in its own video, but I was at the point right now where I was steamrolling through this car and I just wanted to get everything done as fast as possible. So big shout out to Oracle Lighting for sending all of this stuff. Way back on early in the build, I converted most of the car's lights to LED, and a lot of people asked me, because I left the original headlights, are you going to replace the halogens? They look like crap, blah blah blah. And of course that was the plan the entire time. I just didn't know what kind of headlights I wanted to use. So Oracle had these really nice units that have halos built in, and you can get them with the color changing and whatnot. I just left them white. As you guys will see, they're pretty much brighter than the sun. It is unreal. So here on the table is just spread out all of the different stuff that I was going to put into the car. So I've got a underbody glow kit to go underneath the rocker panels and the front and rear bumpers. I've got their VC1 color controller. This allows the color shift and color changing abilities. I've also got some strips to go underneath the driver and passenger side portions of the dashboard. So with the rockers, it was relatively straightforward to apply all of these. Underneath the front and rear bumpers was a different story. I ended up actually cutting some aluminum strips and making my own brackets to support the light strips. It worked out really good. Now, the strips apply with 3M tape, and 3M actually makes a primer type thing. It's like a sponge with a certain chemical. You need to wear gloves, and you wipe the area that you're going to be applying the tape, and it helps promote better adhesion, especially for like body side moldings and trim and things like that. I put it on these strips. I also put it underneath the rocker panels because I really didn't want to take a chance on these strips coming off one day, and they adhered really nice. Fortunately, I did not have to cut the strips for the front, back, or sides. The sides were a little long, but I was able to just kind of wrap the end. It was too long, and I stuffed it behind my fender liner instead of cutting it. Big whoop. But the wiring was relatively straightforward after I got all of this stuff in place. I was actually able to just use one of my car batteries that were lying around and test all of the individual lights before I started running the circuits all together, just to make sure there were no issues or things that I needed to troubleshoot beforehand while all the wiring was still really accessible. So there's me just attaching that strip right there across the rocker panel. Fortunately, there was just enough space between those Type X side skirts that I was able to squeeze them in between the side skirt and the pinch weld. So anyway, here comes the fun part, all of the wiring. Lots and lots of soldering. These wires are small, they take time, definitely don't want to overheat and take a chance on melting something, but for something like this, I would prefer, pretty much anybody should not use like little butt connectors and stuff like that, which are very appropriate in certain electrical situations. But being that this has so much, road and weather and this and that, you want the strongest connection possible. And of course, do a good heat shrink that has the glue that comes out. So you've got your solder, you've got your glue, sealing everything up. It's just the best connection. So I ended up tying all the lights at the back together and then running a separate RGB harness up to the front, where I was going to end up mounting the BC1 controller. So after I made sure all of the 3 backlights were working, it was time to figure out the front strip. So I ended up mounting my BC1 controller on the inner frame rail, where I had an easy access point to run wires to the interior of the car so I could connect my underdash lights. Now the BC1 controller has its own little sub harnesses and stuff, and everything kind of plugs into each other. It's really quite simple, so I didn't go super in depth, and that area I was working in underneath was really tight anyway, so I doubt you would have been able to see very much at all. So as you can see, I'm installing these wicked sweet Oracle headlights, which, as you can see, compared to the factory halogen light, they are indeed brighter than the sun. The halos are gnarly in a good way. Fortunately, these lights with the LED bulbs that they offer plugged directly into the 240 socket. They were literally plug and play, the exact same dimensions as the original seal beam headlights. So once they were in, put the factory trim back on, and it was time for a good test. So basically just running the lights. Of course, I was able to retain the factory pop-up lights with my headlight motor relocation kit. As you can see, I put some extra LEDs. Literally everything in this car is LED. It looks nice and fresh and modern. Back to air conditioning. This looks like a disaster, I know, but I spread it all out just so I can more easily explain it, and I promise I won't drag this out too long. This was the bane of my existence for several weeks. I am not an electrical guy. I know enough to be dangerous, but tracking things down in diagnostics, I still have a ways to go on that. The hardest thing about this was to make sure all of the existing circuitry in the car was still there, because I knew I was missing the wiring, or at least the connector for the factory binary switch. So I was like, well, what if something else got cut out that I didn't realize, and this and that, because, I did not know as much as I do now when I first started building this car. So every now and then I had a friend come help me do something, and there were multiple hands that touched this car over the years, and I don't remember who did what. So before I started really getting into all the AC stuff, after I installed all of the hardware, or AC stuff, I mean wiring, I wanted to track down every circuit. I wanted to know exactly how the power flowed through the factory system, so then I could figure out how it would communicate to my wiring specialties swap harness, and then to the plug-and-play harness for my Haltech ECM. So that's why all of this craziness is here. I even wrote down all of the power flow of the AC system, so I could put it in layman's terms. I'm not going to read that. So this is a factory 240SX dealer service manual from 1989. Invaluable resource. And this is the wiring diagram for the AC circuit. If you want, you can take a little screenshot of that right there. Should be a good enough resolution. So, long story short, we've got this light green black wire that is the AC request. So the AC request goes to the thermal control amp. If everything is good, the thermal control amp also has 12 volt ignition power. It sends a signal somehow in here and then goes to the dual pressure switch, which is the binary switch. If the pressures in the system and all that stuff is good, circuit is closed, power flows back here, down through here, and it kicks on the light on your AC button. And you press the button, lights up green, system's good, blah, blah, blah. You also have connections to the factory computer. If everything is good in the system, safeties and blah, 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 it sends the signal to the factory relay or grounds the signal. I'm sorry if I don't use the right terms. You probably get what I'm saying. It sends and does what it needs to do to engage the factory relay, which then does the compressor, has the the condenser fan and blah, 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 and I had to track down, figure out all of that wiring. But anyway, I also had another more expansive diagram to where I can look at everything kind of a different way. So long story short, I wired in my universal binary switch to my universal dryer with the correct wires, and I was able to verify by jumping the two wires together that my AC light via the request button would turn on. Then my interesting problems started happening. So I needed to verify that my Wiring Specialties Pro harness came with AC wiring, because that is optional. And somebody else ordered that harness for me when I first bought the car many, many years ago. Fortunately, after going through all of their wiring schematics and stuff, I deduced that I did have AC wiring. Thank God, because that would have really been a bummer. This is the idle air control valve off of the RB. It's the old one. I have a new one in there now. So idle air control valve. This is the idle bump switch. So when the AC kicks on, it triggers this to raise the idle to take the load off of the engine. I have that there because I had to figure out where this mystery purple plug was in this harness. So anyway, I've got these pinouts for connectors underneath the dash. I've got these pinouts for the Wiring Specialties harness that connects to the Haltech stuff. So I'm like, okay, all this is lining up right here. All the stuff in the engine bay is correct. Sweet. Now we need to move to the Haltech system. So according to all of this, it plugs in, that ECM plug plugs into all this stuff, just like factory, and on this diagram, it shows on this auxiliary connector, AC request, SPI 4, you don't need to know what that is right now, unless you're doing this with me, then obviously you do. Anyway, AC control relay, that's the signal to trigger the relay or whatever. So, found that. I got everything connected. It should have been working fine, but it didn't. In my Haltech software, I could not. It's almost like there was a communication issue between the AC request switch and the Haltech software. So let me pull up the Haltech software real quick. Promise, I'm almost done with this. It'll make sense in just a second. All right, I'm out of breath. Here's the Haltech NSP software. I don't have it hooked up to the car because that doesn't matter for what I'm trying to explain. Within the vehicle functions, air conditioner, wiring, I have the inputs inputted according to what this diagram told me to do. I had to figure out what all of these settings meant because I'm not a tuner. I'm learning this software still. And there's a wonderful Haltech Facebook group out there where you can post questions about this kind of stuff. And a huge shout out to Angel. Dude, you are amazing. He helped me walk through all my troubleshooting stuff and ended up finding my issue, my communication issue, why my AC request button was not communicating to the Haltech software, and it was really dumb. I'll explain it in just a second. So anyway, here's my settings. If everything was hooked up, you should see voltage on the AC request switch input, edge select falling, pull up enabled, button mode momentarily, active state low on AC output. So as it is right now, when I press the AC button on the 240's AC control panel, the button lights up green, it grounds or whatever, and then it kicks on the AC output, which turns on everything. And with this software, there's safeties, oh dadgummit, there's safeties built in for like to cut the AC in certain instances, whether it be revving the engine past a certain RPM or this and that, blah, blah, blah. That's all customizable within the software. What ended up being the problem, Because after we got all these settings in order, Angel was like, dude, your system should be kicking on. Like, you know, like everything, all your wiring was good. Now that we got this is good, everything should be good. So he brought up this thing that I didn't even think of, but I heard little bits about on the interwebs, the thermal control amp. The thermal control amp is part of the original safety system for the 240's AC system. If it does not signal to the ECM that everything is good, then it won't be good and you won't have AC. So apparently it's a common thing that some of the solder joints in the circuit board of the thermal control amp can crack over, I mean, almost 35, 40 years of use. Anyway, so there are 3 wires going to the thermal control amp. You have 12-volt ignition, you have the signal from the AC request button, and you have another wire that goes out to signal something else, ECM or control panel, something. That's the third wire is the really important wire. So took it back out of the evap box. It's also got a thermal probe on it to detect if your evap core is freezing up, and it'll kick AC off to, you know, protect the system, blah, blah, blah. So took everything apart, looked at the circuit board, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with this. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm looking at it even further, kind of wishing I had a pair of glasses at this point. And the probes that are coming into the circuit board off of the plug, I'm like, crack, more cracked, very cracked. I can move it with my fingernails. They were so bad. And I remember this because, like, I was using my multimeter to test the circuit and the voltages and stuff, and I just kept getting really weird, very inconsistent voltage readings on the AC request switch port and the other wire that goes out to signal everything else. So I was like, oh my gosh, that makes total sense. So I basically just resoldered the joint, you know, melted it down, added some more solder. I put it back in, and son of a gun, if it didn't work immediately. In the Haltech software, I pressed the AC request button. It did the grounding or whatever. I saw the change in voltage, and the AC output turned on, and everything kicked on. I was like, oh my gosh. So it's just amazing. So I had all my wiring correct, but it was actually an issue with one of the car's original parts. So if you have an issue doing all this, check your thermo control amp. It's a really simple, stupid fix. After I got everything done and let the car run for a while, I mean, in this process, I got everything charged up and put my oil in, blah, 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 and all the pressures look good and temperatures look good and everything. I don't have one of those little thermal probes that you stick in an air vent, but I was using my infrared thermometer and just moving it around in the vent after the air is running for a while. It was showing temperatures like 37 degrees Fahrenheit. I was like, this is amazing. It was so cold and wonderful. I was so proud of myself. But anyway, if any of you guys have any questions, because I went over a lot about the AC stuff, please post in the comments. Better yet, because I don't check comments off as much as I should. My email address is on the channel in the About section of the channel. Just send me an email. I can send you pictures of schematics and this and that. I can help with questions any way I can, because a lot of people help me figure this out, and I want to pass it on as much as I can. So anyway, let me show you guys the car real quick. The first thing I want to show you guys are the underbody lights. I turned the lights off in the shop so you can see them a little bit better. The lights that are underneath the dash on the driver and passenger side are factory 240 underdash lights. They just have LEDs in them. I wired all of the underbody lights to a factory fog light switch right here, which are exceedingly rare. So basically, because it's just on a push on push off switch, the BC1 module does not have like a memory setting in it. So if I like set it to blue, for example, turn them off, turn it back on, it's going to default to the color shift, which isn't a big deal. You can go in the app and then just change whatever color that you want to do. Super simple, super quick, and it's got different modes. Like you can do it to your voice or sound. Hello. So that's fun. So love the underdash lights. Works really well with the blue interior. And then as we come around the car, trying not to trip over anything. I mean, this car, to me, was like my Fast and the Furious car. So in keeping with the time period and mods of that era, I suppose, I really, really wanted to do underbody lights, and they just turned out so good. Especially with how I mounted on those brackets. It casts the glow above the exhaust pipes right there. It's just nice and seamless. So cool. Like I said, at this point, the car is completely done with the exception of paint protection. So let me give you just a quick once over so you can see just how awesome this thing turned out. I reworked so much in this engine bay. Most people would never notice it, but it's so much cleaner. Still got to do a final detail with it, but man, I'm just so proud of it. Let's move on over here. Shiny, shiny. Ended up doing that black roof, which ties in really well with the glass and the B-pillar molding, the window trim across here. Kind of gives it a bit more of a modern touch, I think. Overall, the build is very much OEM plus, so I tried to use a lot of Nissan original parts and then fed in the aftermarket stuff where appropriate, but the inside is all original, except for the Haltech IC7 dashboard and my early 2000s Pioneer radio. I don't know if you guys remember the old Dolphin radios or whatever they nicknamed them, because they had the Dolphin animations and other fun animations that you can play on the little screen along with your music. But this has a CD009 6-speed transmission, and with all of the relocation brackets and modifying the actual shift rod, I was able to have an uncut center console with the factory shift boot. So unless I told you about it, you would never know. Looks just like factory. All the back seat stuff is there. Rear mounted battery, trunk, other than that little sub, all original. Oh, I used the hole in the side panel that used to have the trunk light to pass all my battery, power, ground cables through. And I still wanted to use that little light. So I ended up cutting it into this side right here. So works the exact same way, just made a little sub harness and just put it on the opposite side of the trunk. Yep, pretty sweet. Got that carpet panel up there. It's fantastic. Can't wait to show you guys the final review. Well, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all of your support over these years and for your patience. I know a lot of people probably tuned out of this series a long time ago, but for those of you who have stuck with me and supported the channel and stuck with the builds and the updates when I was able to post them, I really appreciate it. This car is a dream come true. There's no way I could replicate it ever again. There's been so much blood, sweat, tears, and money put into this car. And it's unbelievable. This is like a childhood dream come to reality, and I can't wait to film the in-depth review. I can't wait to drive the wheels off this thing. It's gonna be amazing. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I have a lot of awesome content coming as always, and if you brain fart, don't forget to leave a like down below because it really helps the videos a lot. And if you subscribe, make sure those notifications are turned on. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.